What's lucky is that we're still getting top-notch offers for films of people our age. And I think hopefully because of people like, our generation, of course, Akshay and, Ajay and the Khans and everyone, but also Mr. Bachchan and Anil Kapoor who've kind of increased longevity with health and good performance. Even though all my children, all three of them, one cannot replace the other. Hi, this is Saif Ali Khan and you're watching PeepingMoon.com.
Welcome to Peeping Moon, Saif.
Hey, thanks, Mark. What's that?
That's the logo of the website.
Fantastic. Lovely.
Saif, you're just out of Tanaji.
Ji.
And I read an interview in which you said you accepted that role because it was delicious.
Yes.
What do you mean by delicious?
Well, I mean, it was just the dramatic qualities of it. When Om offered me the role, he said, we discussed and I said, okay, I get it. And he showed me all his graphics and the ideas of what he's going to do. And he showed me Uday Ban's kind of personality and how he's going to shoot the whole thing. And then I said, listen, I'll do this film. It's a lovely offer by Ajay and all. You give me like 4 item scenes as the villain and we'll make it fun and I'll do it. And he gave me about 12. Okay. So, it was just incredible. It was one of the most, he's such a fine director. But the way he wrote the character and the way he developed it just attracted me to, being part of this 3D action extravaganza.
You've got a whole lot of exciting films coming up. And when somebody had asked you about Tanaji and this film, Jawaani Janeman, you said you kind of shifted gears.
Yeah.
After the last films you had done didn't work well. What did you mean by, what did you do exactly?
Well, there was a time when, based on just how my mind works, I chose something that in retrospect was probably a little niche.
Yeah.
And I think it's important, if you want to be successful, to understand the kind of flavors that the audience likes. And we've always liked masala movies and I've always done quite a lot of those. But I thought maybe, audience tastes are changing. Like when I signed Chef, for example, the way Raja Menon interpreted that film, even though we had an original, it was a more European take on things. It was a sensitive movie and it was very well made. And we work hard to perform at a certain level under and make it more realistic and but people sometimes feel in our audiences they're not getting enough drama, they're not getting enough color or any juice.
Okay.
So there's certain roles and it's in the way it's written. Like Jawaani Janeman also, it's in the way it's directed really, it's a director's medium. If they kind of mount the scene in that way where we can have more fun, then I think those are the more correct kind of films. So after doing Chef, Kala Kandi, Rangoon, all of these are slightly European type movies that didn't resonate much at all. And after that I thought, I think we should try a slightly different approach, and have more music. I used to wonder why we don't have music in these films also, why we aren't singing songs, and why are we moving away from that as a culture and kind of trying to be European or American. Whereas in places, whenever I go to Patodi, people are still listening to the 90s music on a tape recorder in the car.
Okay.
So we love music in our films, and I think it's important we keep that part. So Jawaani Janeman is a return to that kind of film. Luckily, Nitin Kakkar has directed it really well and entertainingly, but commercially. He could also have taken a slightly European route because he loves European cinema also. But it's lucky that we did this. So that and Tanaji, I think, are more, like I say, keeping the audience at mind and keeping the audience's enjoyment in your mind at all times, to entertain them actively rather than passively,
Okay, this is also a film about a man accepting his age.
Right.
Now you are 50, you're going to be 50 this year.
Yeah.
You're father to children of differing ages.
Yes.
You're a rock star on screen.
Yeah.
What space are you in really right now?
Am I really in?
Yeah.
I don't know, like a lot of my friends now, you notice my mother had her 75th birthday recently in Ranthambore, and we were all there. And a lot of her friends are talking about aches and pains. And it is quite funny. After a point, conversation instead of the weather becomes like your health,
Yeah.
And I think at 50, I wake up in the morning sometimes and I think about the time that's gone by quite quickly. And I think about the future. And it's a little disturbing to think that half your life is more than over. And what is the downhill going to be like? In many ways, I'm happy with what it is. In many ways, it's teaching me to be in the present more and just enjoy today, because we're still there, but I don't know how long for, you know. But there's a sense of mortality, there's a sense of, you know, everything. Time changes so fast. I mean, the Bhopal I grew up in the Bhopal of today, you know, even the Bombay and the India that I grew up in, and how things change. In some ways good, in other ways maybe not as good, I don't know. So you're conscious of all these things. And I think I wake up sometimes thinking, you know, how to make the most of my life. But one thing I am also is really happy to be where I am. I think today the films and the roles we're doing, we're offering the best we can from a position of experience.
Yeah.
And we're producing stuff that is hopefully being consumed well, and knowing how to enjoy life, and also sitting back, you know, separating between personal life and holidays and work, and just trying to enjoy it as much as possible before it's all gone.
Okay, you said something in an interview that the media really seized upon.
Yeah.
You said you're pretending to be an old man who's cool,
Yeah.
but young at heart.
Yeah.
Now you talking about yourself really, or you're talking about your character?
No, I think I was talking about myself there. They asked me, they said, you know, how would, it's a slightly funny question. They said, if Taimur and Ibrahim and me go to a bar and, you know, we're all interested in the same girl. I mean, Taimur is only interested in...
That's almost the same as your character in the film.
Kind of. But, yeah, I see what they're saying. It would be very entertaining to have Ibrahim and me, who he's at the right age to be doing that, and I'm not. So in that sense, my character is kind of, when we used to go to nightclubs when I was 18, 19, we used to make fun of the 40-year-old and say, why is that guy at the bar, you know? I would never be there. And in my defense, I don't think I've been to a nightclub for years, you know, and I wouldn't. It's not really my scene. But he certainly has issues growing up, that guy. Whereas me, I don't think I'm an old man, but I'm not a millennial either. And I have no desire to try and be, a lot of pressures on us to kind of be young, wear this, it'll look younger, wear that, it'll be younger. I mean, you don't want to be old, but you don't want to be
that age also.
Really young also, you know. Yeah,
I get it.
I'm still at that point where I'm quite happy to be who I am.
Your character is a man who resists fatherhood because he believes he's too young at 40 to be a father.
I don't even know if he's 40. I don't even know how old he is. I think he's in his mid-40s or something. But he never knew he was a father. Yeah. This pops up on him like can happen to anybody.
Yeah, I get that.
Some girl that he kind of had a raunchy evening with says, listen, you know, and this girl says, I might be your daughter. So it's a bit of a shock. And it's an exciting role because he's not ready for it. When we say you're playing a father, sometimes that's based on, you kind of think of Amrish Puriji or somebody from a different generation playing a father.
Yeah, I get
but
that.
Today's fathers, you know, they're not ready. I mean, at least the way I'm portraying on screen. A lot of these guys, even Chef, he was kind of trying to be a father. Even here, he's like didn't think of himself as a father until a girl comes up to him.
My question to you is that you had, in real life, you had Sarah when you were 26.
No, younger, I think.
Younger, 24.
24, yeah.
So were you ready 26. For her at that time?
Well,
and you had Timur when you were 46.
Yes.
So how was it at that age? You had children at two very differing ages.
Absolutely. You know, I mean, I remember Sarah and how beautiful and you know, I used to get free taxi rides because Sarah was in the car in Switzerland and in London.
Okay.
Like about 4 cab drivers have told me we won't charge you because this kid is too cute. And I remember the first time she touched the rain was on my lap, the first time she saw snow, various things. And it was amazing. But there was also a sense of like having my own thing to do. I might have been a little impatient with her. I remember once I fired her I told her not to buy something from a shop and then she put it on the thing anyway and I was losing my temper, which is so wrong, you know. And in that sense, I'm much more patient and you realize it's about the kids. So Taimur, I enjoy watching him do his stuff and I come down, not down, but I come onto his level when I'm with him and that's all he wants in a conversation. Sometimes we're impatient, we're like, oh no, don't be silly, come on, we've got to go. Go where? I don't know, you know, that's the difference now. Like I'll slow down and have that conversation with him, which I don't know if I had with her as much, even though all my children, you know, all three of them, like one cannot replace the other ever. So if I'm upset with Sarah for something, being with Taimur doesn't make me feel better.
Yeah.
Or if Taimur's annoyed me he's too young really, or if Ibrahim's doing something that's concerning me, talking to Sarah doesn't make it. So they literally have 1/3 of my heart each, you know.
Okay.
Which is interesting. It's just that every time you have a child, you divide your love into that.
I get that.
But the kid, the youngest one, I mean, is different, you know, because they kind of run around and they're much more dependent than the older kids who need you in a different way.
Okay. This has been a big month for you.
Yeah.
2 big films.
Yeah.
So in the excitement and anxiety of your own releases, have you had kind of time to worry about your daughter's film, which is Heart on Heels?
Yeah, but I don't really worry about her films. I worried anymore. I worried about Kedarnath, which was her launch film, and we worked hard to make sure she gets Simba by calling Rohit and making various daddy phone calls, which we had to do, which I'm sure in retrospect, everyone, Ronnie Screwwala was great, and people helped us work it out. Gattu and all these guys, and Rohit Shetty himself, you know. And having got that on track, then, you know, I actually don't think about it anymore, because I know and I assume she's going to be fine. But the day-to-day ups and downs and the issues, that I'm not interested in that
you don't
about
get
myself.
Okay.
You know, I hate that about the movie business, because there's so much politics and pressure. We can go on the whole day. I love to cut off from that as soon as I can and talk about something else and talk about, you know, just other sides of life. That's what keeps me sane.
I get
so to get involved with that would be, I'm not the right guy, unless help is required, at which point, of course, we are always there.
Now, you talked about father being the most important person in somebody's life.
Yeah.
You know, what was your relationship with your father, and how are you with your kids as a father?
I think the big difference between my generation, and I have a few friends like this also, and our fathers, is that they were a little Victorian, you know. There was a strong kind of English influence of a little strict upbringing. So they were loving in a different way, but they weren't very showing. And to my sisters, they showed more, at least affection. But I don't remember much like affection or physical. So it was a little strict, and I respected him / was a bit nervous or frightened. He didn't like it if I said I'm frightened of him, but I was, you know, because he was a very imposing personality, my dad. And he's never raised his voice to anybody, but he could command like so much respect. And he had that eye that made it look like he was giving you and I was very naughty. So he used to constantly be going, Saif, what have you done now? So I was perpetually like one of those kids that are in the doghouse. And my mum spoiled me quite a lot more, perhaps to balance it. But so that's what it was. But in retrospect, like Dad was a really respectable guy, you know. Like he had just even the people that worked for us or the friends that he had, everyone just looked up to him because he was this consistent personality. But he was not overly demonstrative or, you know, we played some sport together, but that father-dad kind of bonding thing, he was there. If you needed him, you just had to pick up a phone. I miss him today also sometimes. There's so much going on. I ask him, say, what should I say if somebody asks me this? I'll get the perfect answer. So that way he was always there as a dad. But in kind of that bonding, you know, friendly way.
You missed that.
So that was missing. So I make sure that I have that equation with my kids.
In the film, there's a dialogue in which you say, family makes a man a chomo. What about real life?
Well, you know, it's a very interesting point of view because if you look at it in one way, it can be a little, you know, it's not that as cool or as, you know, happening. Somewhere it does make you a little bit like burdened with responsibility and constantly aware of this, that and the other, if you're not ready for it. But if you are ready for it and you embrace it, like this is again a kind of a difference. Like if you're at the wrong age, maybe you'll feel like a chomo, whatever that means, that word. Nitin made it up on the spot. But I think that dialogue was made up on the spot. But like there's nothing warmer than having the kids around and having, you know, a woman you love and everyone having a meal together or some kind of Christmas or some Diwali or some festival where the whole family is kind of bonded, or even just a regular walk in the park or feeding the ducks or any activity together, or Sunday morning in bed, all of us, with the dogs and everything. So in that sense, it's the richest, most wonderful feeling in the world. It's not chomu at all. But I can understand when you think, when you've seen bad examples around you, or if you're in a wrong relationship, or if you're getting harrowed by something and you're like, dude, what's happening here? So it's one of those subjective, objective things, I certainly don't feel that family makes you a chomu, but I totally get this guy who does feel that.
The industry has a sudden influx over the last 2 years of talented young actresses.
Yeah.
Now you're working with some of them, and you're the father of one of them.
Yeah.
How do you feel about this sudden change?
Well, I mean, time goes on, Suddenly I'm looking at a poster in this same office and it says Coolie #1 and it says Saif Ali Khan, and I'm like, wow. So now that's happened. I mean, it's great. She always wanted to be an actor, and time does move on. And I think we learn from school when we see in batches and timetables and the way to divide time. It's important you have to realize that time moves fast. So there's advantages to being at every stage, And I think we have to celebrate being 50. Make sure we're in the environment where we're celebrating that and not competing with some 30-year-old, because that will be very unhealthy for everyone. So I don't compete with them. And I think those kind of, what's lucky is that we're still getting top-notch offers for films of people our age. And I think hopefully because of people like, our generation, of course, Akshay and, Ajay and the Khans and everyone, but also Mr. Bachchan and Anil Kapoor, who've kind of increased longevity with health and good performances. I think all of us can look forward to, and this is funny, with CG, they just keep doing something and we look like we're 20. It's going to be timeless, or 45. It's better than 20.
Tell me, what advice would you give? You talked about this, and it was a very sensitive subject. You talked about men who create kids but don't have the time for them, and those kids are later on forced to go in for therapy, and they're looking for friendship, they're looking for family.
Well, parenting is like a science. I mean, we should do some studying on it. We should read more. And everyone needs to be part psychiatrist, really, in order to bring up kids, because we have to be experts at what do you do if the kid shouts, we just used to get a whack. But that's not necessarily the answer, You have to be a little more sophisticated in your parenting and work with your wife at how you raise these kids. And people have children, but they're very young and they don't really know what they're doing. So the father sometimes damages so much self-esteem, what a kid feels, that he ends up needing therapy, And people say in the first job of therapy is to undo the damage your parents have done, So people should be aware that you can do a lot of damage.
My last question, and my office girls have forced me to ask this. They said, it's about your son, Taimur. Is he aware of what you're doing? Does he know that you're an actor? And
he's now become aware, kind of aware, because he sees clips on the phone of things I've shot, and he's like, show me your song, or show me that scene. So he's understood that there's something that happens, but
he's not seen a complete film of yours.
No, but he doesn't like the idea of, he's saying, where are you going? Birthday party or shooting? So these are the only two outings he understands. And he gets it now, slowly he's understanding, because he watches it and he's quite amused by it.
Okay.
So I think wo lag jayega keeda already.
Saif, thank you so much for your
Mark,
time.
You're always a pleasure.
Thank you.
Nice talking to you.